Did it again. Didn't change the name across the bottom. Huh. Man, Minnie's going to get mad at me if I don't figure out how to change that name there. Hang on, folks, while I figure out what I'm doing here. Mayong buntag. This is Dan and Minnie's Journey, coming to you live from the Philippines, beautiful city of Lahuk, Cebu, which is not very busy this morning because I went outside and went to go grab a quick cup of coffee and nobody was there. Then I remembered today is Labor Day. Happy Labor Day. Who gets a day off? Who's in the house today? I see Anna May, Mingay, Crystal's Adventure, Laurice, the Philippines' most eligible bachelorette and socialite, and an all-around mighty fine person is in the house. Charmaine is here, GN. Welcome, welcome. Crystal's Adventure. Hope your 3-year-old is doing fine. Yeah, it's no day off for the working poor, I'm telling you. But it might be a good day for Man Minnie and I to catch a cab over to Mactan, over to Newtown. Where is that? Lapu-Lapu? Which island do I need to get to go to Newtown? Just wanted to go hang out, sit at the table where Gio in the Philippines sits when he's in Newtown. At the Starbucks, of course. If you haven't already got it, go grab your cup of Joe. Inomako Kepe. Ah, yes. Coffee is life. Oh, speaking of coffee, who's gonna win today? 100 peso challenge. This. Oh, I just knocked over my mic. My directional mic is directionalist. Who's gonna win the 100 pesos today? We'll have to find out. We'll have to wait and see. This whole microphone just fell over. I'm lucky it didn't land on the ground. Well, I'm working in such a small space, that my arms are always flailing around. Let's see, what are we going to be talking about today? That is the question. Let me see if I can silence my music. Oh, every time I do that. Don't forget that we're sponsored today by Joe's House of Manuk. So if you get a chance, you run over to Joe's House of Manuk. Tim is in the house. Hi, Tim. How are you this morning? How are you on this fine Labor Day morning? Thank you for your time. Thank everybody for your time. Whether it's morning, noon, or night, we're all in this fight together. By the way, I thought, listen, that video that Man Minnie and I did on the taxi driver, we just could not resist, We were walking by the Time Zone over there, Ayala Central Block Mall. We're starting to like that place. Yeah, and we couldn't resist doing the video on the taxi. I thought it was hilarious. Anyway, I thought I did very well in the editing also. Jerry's in the house. Jerry, how are you? Is Larry here? Larry, quite contrary. Uh, yeah, so we enjoyed doing that video. I enjoyed editing it. I was laughing the entire time, you know. I actually there used to be a an old television show called Taxi or Taxi Driver Taxi. And we actually thought about going in there and seeing if we could use the theme song from Taxi in the video. That would have been hilarious. Don't you guys think? Oh, where does Dan come up with this stuff? Oh, before we get started on today's topic about the Philippines economic growth, one of my favorite things to talk about, probably one of the most boring things to have to hear if you're supporting me in the live stream. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about YouTube in general, you know, and how I think it works. And so not everybody can be a YouTube superstar, but I have to admit that the folks here in the chat are doing a pretty good job on their way to going viral. Catching the virus? No, I mean going viral. But I was having this conversation when we met with Naomi at Galleria Mall, I think it was Robinson's Gallery. We were talking about this, and I had shared my idea that basically, in order to get that $100 per month, the minimum payout for YouTube, you probably have to get around, I don't know, 1,000 to 2,000 hits per week. And the question is, how do you do that if you're not a YouTube superstar? And so by watching you here in the channel, I've discovered that one way you do it is by doing the live streams and doing videos. They don't have to get huge numbers of hits. Basically, if you're doing video shorts or you're doing regular videos, and you're getting a couple of hundred views per video, then in order to get that 1,000, then all you have to do is keep the machine going, and add shorts and add videos and do live streams 2 or 3 or 4 times per week, and you'll hit that number. You'll hit that number fairly easily, and it's taken me a long time to figure out this thing. All right, so you're not getting 40 or 50K views on your channel. So what? Mama Rainbow Cooking is in the house. Mama Rainbow is here. Thank you so much for visiting. Mama Rainbow, let me get you a wrench. Let me see. Mama Rainbow, I got you on the handheld. Let me see if I can warm you up a little bit. No, I don't mean warm you up that way. Happily married man here. Yeah, so I'll be pushing the buttons today and pushing your buttons to see if I can get a reaction out of you. You either love me or you hate me, or you're like Tim, who really doesn't give a damn. One way or another. But Tim, hey, can hardly wait for that Denny's to open over at SM Mall Clark. But as long as the Marines don't take it over, we're good to go once that bad boy opens up. They keep delaying it, but there's nothing like having an American Grand Slam on an American Air Force base. Right, Tim? There's nothing quite like it. The incomparable Daisy Lynn Castro is in the house. Sings like a bird. If you haven't already signed up for Daisy Lynn, head over to Daisy Lynn's channel and check her out. But remember, you can check her out. You can look, but you can't touch, because she's a married woman with a beautiful family, a happily married woman. And a lot of guys go in there and they try to make their moves on Daisy Lynn. And I could tell you, money won't buy happiness, but it sure goes a hell of a long way in that direction. Mary Ann is here. Thank you so much for your time. Madeline is here. Hey, Madeline, I was just creeping around in your channel just a few moments ago. So I wanted to see what was all going on in there, and I took a little peek, but I can't remember what I was looking at because I went into like 3 or 4 channels right before live time. Who was doing the exercises? I think that was Nicole that was doing the exercises live, right? But she was just standing there, and I was ready to go. I was going to do jumping jacks. I was going to do jumping the rope, but I got nothing. She was just standing there. So anyway, I got no exercise except my usual sitting in the chair, in this very comfortable chair, and enjoying my cup of libation, my cup of motivation, my cup of Joe. Hey, speaking of Hey Joe, Mike is going to be here soon. Mike's going to be in Bye Bye Late Day. Man, Minnie and I are going to be heading out either late Tuesday tomorrow or Wednesday. We're headed back to the province. I'll probably do a video on it, Dan returns, the Great Escape. I'll come up with some kind of title that'll get me seen by 100 or 200 people. But thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. Minnie Snow is here. Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Minnie Snow. I just happen to know that it's AM, not PM, where Minnie Snow is. So yesterday late, I think we got some rain showers this morning. Do you want the Philippine weather report? It's sunny in the morning with a chance of clouds and showers later in the afternoon. Ta-da! That's always the weather report. And Mark is here. Mark is a significant other of Crystal's adventure. So it's always an exciting adventure, Mark, when you're with Crystals. Am I right? That's where the name came from, right? All right, what were we going to do? Oh, so I promise to talk about a few things before we get started on this other boring topic. But I got to go to I didn't write down my notes this time like I usually do. To put on this show takes hours and hours of research, and a lot of it does stick in my head, but not today. One of the things I was curious about, and I think we talked about it once or twice, is whether common law marriage exists in the Philippines. And it sort of does, I think. It sort of does. Here it is. Here's what I found when I went to search Google. And this is from ncsl.org website, common law marriage by state. No, that's not what I'm looking for. That's just a definite common law marriage. Common law marriage in the Philippines. Let's see. I'm looking around to see if any one of you have. Jerry's here. Jerry from South Texas. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Here's the answer when you Google it from phtheasianparent.com. Once you enter a live-in relationship, it is legally recognized as a common law marriage in the Philippines. Is this true, ladies? Is this true? Cohabiting affects your legal position, and you can protect yourself and your children should your relationship end or one of you dies. I think I read somewhere else. It's all coming back to me now. I'm getting old. It takes a little time for me to recover all these thoughts. My brain is just full of, it's full of, all kinds of information. I know what you were thinking. But it's something like 5 years or longer does not require a marriage license in order to get married in the Philippines. Is that true? Is that true or not? So if you cohabitate and all you have to do is show proof, like shared utility bills, shared rental receipts, a joint bank account, and it goes back 5 years, then you don't have to go get a marriage license. I guess you just show up at the mayor's office one day and say, can you marry us? I don't know how you prove it. I think you get some kind of letter from somebody that says, for example, we got letters. They love letters here. So I went to the barangay captain in our barangay in Baybay City. I asked for a certificate of residence, and he banged one out on the computer just like that. He macked one up for me just like that. Signed it, put the official Barangay stamp, and I have it here somewhere. I don't know where it is. I hope I didn't lose it. But anyway, I got that. I got one of those. Dan, your what? My what? I gotta get my my readers out. Dan, your brain is full of coffee and Bavarian cream donut. Yeah, if you open me up, or if I got into some kind of accident where I crack my skull open, Bavarian cream is probably going to be oozing out of there, and so when so I'm misfiring all the time because my those things that are firing in your brain, they got to move through all that thick Bavarian cream. So how many years is common law marriage? I think I said that it was something like, oh yeah, here it is. I found it. So it says 5 years. No license is necessary for the marriage of a man and a woman who have lived. That's a man and a woman. It's not a man and a man. It's not a woman and a woman. It is a man and a woman. Don't get me started. Don't get me started on that debate. Don't hate, celebrate. Words to live by. Moreover, no license necessary for the marriage of a man or a woman who have lived together as husband and wife. This is the law. For at least 5 years and without legal impediment to marry each other, which means you couldn't have already been married and then move in with each other and be common law husband and wife. So, oh wait. Larry's chiming in. Mail for both of you at the same address for more than 5 years. Okay, that's it. That's right. That's good. That's proof. Let's see. Without legal impediment to marriage, you couldn't have been married. One or two of you, or each of you, or both of you, cannot have been married before. Then you'll just have to live in sin. I don't know how you reconcile that with the Lord. I'm not a very religious guy. I'm Catholic, not a practicing Catholic. I'm too afraid to go in the church for fear that God would strike me dead right on the spot, or that I get electrocuted once I dip my fingers into the holy water. But here's the thing, you got to get the blessing from someone, right? I don't know how you work that out. Or maybe you don't. Each other exempt from the requirement of marriage license should they decide to get married. That's ART.34. Family Code of the Philippines. So family code, is what you abide by. You know something? I got an email from the Solano County Office of Child Support Services recently saying, excuse me, Mr. Dan, can you give us a call when you have a moment? I have no idea what the heck that is all about. I don't have any contact whatsoever with anyone in Solano County, which is a couple of counties over from Sacramento. But it's definitely in the neighborhood that Dan has been, if you will. All right. So it looks like the next subject is going to be next subject here to cover. The next information I want to share is where is the peso rate right now? Tim usually knows where the rate is. Dollar to donuts. No, dollar, US dollar to Philippine peso. It's moved a little bit at 55.48. So 55.48 is still a little bit above, well, I would say the 10-year average. So when you're looking at a 10-year average, Tim will fact check me. I think you got to go. I think you go a little bit lower, maybe even 1 peso against the dollar lower. So, but like I said in an earlier stream, once they raise the price on rice and things like that, they don't tend to lower it. They don't tend to go back and lower it just because the supply of dollars goes up or the price of those commodities decline. They're just like any other consumer-oriented society. They're greedy bastards. I mean, I don't know who runs this place. I really don't know who runs this place, but they're greedy. More and more of less and less equals more is a very basic uh, economic philosophy that I agree with. So that's it. The less you charge people, the more product you'll sell, and in the end, the more profit you shall make. And people laugh when I say that. May not be true, and I'll tell you why. The more labor would have to be expended in order to get that profit. In other words, in order to service all the people that are coming in buying your product because it's priced right. Naomi is in the house. So Mike, married to a beautiful woman, is here. Thanks, Mike, for joining us. So you see, it really doesn't. I guess my philosophy really doesn't work because they're going to get you coming or going. So let's say that you have a product and you're pricing it at a reasonable price, where you're making minimal amounts of profit. So people come in, and so in this case, we're talking about rice. People flock to you buying your rice because you have the best price in town. You're not being greedy. You're just taking a small profit on every kilo. Well, you need more labor, and you'd have to pay for more labor because you're going to be buying more truckloads of rice, hopefully. And on the front end, the retail land, it's going to increase your labor costs because you have to have a supply of labor on hand in order to service your customers. I don't know if Larry agrees with me about that philosophy or not, because I can't see him because Larry's in
Oh,
the
I'm
dark.
sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot
Uh
to take the
oh.
camera
Uh oh.
down. Uh,
There he
I
is.
had I had to
All right.
reconnect a different Bluetooth. I got this one for some reason wasn't working, but I got a second one, so I hooked it up. I
Right.
couldn't get.
We don't want we don't accept excuses
I
here,
don't know if
Larry.
the. No, because I fixed it. I fixed it. Come on.
All
Uh,
right. So
I
now,
think I,
what comment do you have to share about what I just said, or do you have anything to add to what I said?
I didn't catch it because I was trying to
I
get
was
everything
talking
fixed.
about more and more of less and less equals more. Let's see what Mike says. What's Mike saying about this? Doesn't the
Doesn't the
government
government
price rice
price
in the
rice?
Philippines? Oh, yeah, we're talking the retail price. I apologize, Mike. I was talking about, yeah, they probably rice is heavily regulated here, and so yes, we can blame the government for everything. But I mean that's kind of easy. But I mean, really, what we're talking about here is what they price the cost of rice on the retail end. For example, I noticed something. Everybody, I mean, this is the reason why I have to pay attention because uh, I mean, I notice this on the exchange rate, and I would imagine that it applies to different products too, especially commodities like rice. But if you rice and coal and coconut and things like that, but for example, I noticed that there was a huge difference in what kind of profit margin they wanted off the forex price on the exchange rate. So this is why it's really important to shop around. But truth of the matter is, it's just easier to go where you bank and have them do the exchange no matter what they're offering because they're always going to give you the best exchange rate, especially if they're hungry for dollars. And here in the Philippines, they seem to be hungry for dollars right now. So, but not for long because the initial salvo uh, of 100 million US dollars being pumped into the Philippine economy actually goes a very, very long way. So, yes, the government regulates rice. And so, but what I was talking about is the retail price. How greedy are you going to get? You know how they price it by the kilo and then by the sack. So the sack price is going to be cheaper than buying it by the kilo because of course they have to do all this labor, unload the sack and then put it in smaller containers and all that other stuff. They have to they have expenses that are related to that. Happy Labor Day, by the way. Maybe that's one of the reasons I decided to talk about this. It's Happy Labor Day. I went outside early this morning to grab a cup of Joe, and no one's. I mean, there are people out in the street. The people. There's some people still after work. There's no doubt about that. But the taxis are idle. I went down to the taxi stand. They're all sitting there looking around. We got nothing to do. And I started thinking that this might be the opportunity today to go ahead and take that taxi cab ride over the bridge into Newtown. I was going to save it for the next trip, but I might go ahead and do it today.
Yeah. Talking about the taxi, I enjoyed the video on the taxi.
That was so much fun. We could not resist, Larry. We couldn't resist.
Did you
It
read
was
my
too much.
comment?
Yeah, I did read your comment. Yeah, how did you find a taxi small enough?
Smaller.
Yes.
Smaller.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Good morning, Des. Des is here.
Yes.
Des has such she's got such a wonderful family. I'm telling you. You want to put a smile on your face. Go over to visit Des's household, and then you will walk away with a smile on your face. Just watching everybody going through their normal routine was delightful. Tim is saying, what? If I go to the bank, they check the exchange rate 2 or 3 times before they complete my transaction. Yeah, they don't want to lose money. They don't want it to free fall. So they're probably giving you an average of those three checks. They check the Forex 3 times. It's right there on their computer. And then they probably decide, based on an average of those prices, how much money they're going to give you or offer up. Mike is saying, see that the foreigner doesn't really affect me because of the exchange rate, but my Asawa says it's higher, same as veggies in the stores, but not as bad as in the wet market. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think I've also noticed that. And so we'll be headed back to Bye Bye Leyte, and we'll be making a few visits over to the wet market to load the family and friends up with food before the start of the month, or because it's the first of the month. And so that's one of the main reasons for heading home. And of course, we live there, so I mean, you got to go home sometime, right?
Oh yeah. Even if it's only for a very short visit.
Right. It's only going to be for a few weeks this time because we got a lot of stuff to do. We're gearing up to head north to Manila. I think we'll be there the first or second week in June. Listen, my dates, they're on the fly. I'm retired, I don't know when I'm going to be there, but I'll let you guys know when I'm going to be there. And if we do make it over to Mactan, whether or not we do or not, I'm going to be taking a video of us leaving, and then I'm going to walk you down to the elevator and then downstairs in our apartment. And then maybe you could go into that apartment video that I did, where we were checking out the so-called 8K per month. Right. But of course, we both knew how this thing was going to turn out. Everybody knew before we even did it. Even I knew that it was going to turn out this way, that they're going to say, oh, so sorry, sir, out of stock on the 8K apartments. A little Philippine joke. I hope the ladies don't mind in the chat.
Well, see, that's why you use somebody like Leonard's friend, or in your case, your wife. You just let her go by herself.
Yeah.
Check
well, the whole, I had to talk to Leonard. The whole Leonard thing, there was a miscommunication on, I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. But she's a warrior, and I really appreciate the effort. It took 3 days for Eleanor to find us a place. And so, but things didn't work out on the commission end of it. And so I urge everyone to make sure that you have contractual agreements with all parties involved, which is typically the way they do business in the Philippines. And so the commission thing didn't work out exactly the way we anticipated. Oh, by the way, you know what the commission was on the apartment? It was only a fraction of 1 month's rent. So it turned out that the commission in this case, I don't know if it's in all cases, but the commission that they offered up, the listing agent, here's where the problem came in, right? The listing agent was something like 20% of of first month's rent. 20%. I started thinking about it. Is that reasonable? I don't know. I don't know how things work here in the Philippines. I just don't know. By the way, Larry, we're sponsored today by Joe's House of Manuk.
I see
So
that. You got the event
yeah,
going
yeah.
across the
Next time
line.
you're in Lahoog, make sure you eat at Joe's House of Manook.
Well, we'll have
So
to make sure we eat there.
Mike says the different islands, the costs are different too. If something is grown there, it's cheaper. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Sess, as you know, has been putting on her Facebook page and her YouTube channel her trip to Sikihor. I've got to tell you, it just I'll tell you what, Sess does such a good job on these videos and showing you what's going on, especially the whole restaurant farm to fork movement that started in the Philippines right there. If I'm not mistaken, it started there in Sikihor. And I'm telling you, this is a must see. This is an island visit that is going to happen. And all because I'm inspired by Sess. By the way, I won't be going to Japan and I definitely won't be going to Singapore. So those are they're way too expensive for me. I'm too
Well,
cheap. I won't do it.
they are expensive. I mean, unless
Yeah,
you wanted
I
to
will be going. We
celebrate
will be going to
something.
Malaysia, though. I'm a fan of Malaysia. I go into Roaming Hogan's channel, who's visited Malaysia, and of course, when her and his girlfriend were together, they did videos together in Malaysia. So, and Thailand is a given. Thailand is a given, but these places they're becoming more expensive, and that's one reason for wanting to talk about what's happening in the Philippines in the economy. Being retired, I'm very spontaneous as long as I plan it several days in advance.
That's why I
Yeah,
laughed earlier.
I think I'm a tiny bit more spontaneous than you are, Tim. Dan, make sure you give me 3 weeks notice before you show up. Yeah. Yes.
I think I
So
might be a little more spontaneous than both of you, and that's what got me in financial trouble.
yeah.
Don't have the money. Who cares? Let's go. Put it on the card.
That's a very good point. So anyway, finishing up on the real estate thing. So here's the whole thing. It has to be clearly explained. You don't really need, I might be going too far on the real estate contract thing. But if you just have together a video of your agreement with each other, so there are no misunderstandings about who pays for what, that will go a long way in having any miscommunications about the whole commission thing. And of course, the realtor, the agent who takes you to the site that you're going to rent, where you actually come to an agreement and sign a lease, they definitely are entitled to compensation. Nobody in the world is going to work for free. Because I happen to know Eleanor spent hours on that computer, and so you have to figure out what's her time worth. For some of us, it's time is our most valuable assets, and that's why I appreciate so much the giving of people of your time to come into my live stream. I appreciate it so much. Tim says, I don't have any credit cards, so I have to budget for everything. Yeah, don't get credit cards, because otherwise you'll end up before you retire in $60,000 worth of debt, or whatever it was that I had to retire. I think it was close to that, 45 to 60,000, maybe more. Well, if you count the house, it's more than that. It's over.
No, but
You count the
don't count
house.
the house.
Yeah, if you don't count the house, it's somewhere around $45 to $60,000. I don't even
Well, like I
remember
said,
how much it was.
with the house.
No, it was more than that. I'm sorry, it was more than that. It was
When you
over.
sold the house,
I think I told the story. If you count student loan debt, you're talking $100,000 plus was all debt that was retired prior to retirement. Sikihor, the cost for tracks are expensive, like in Bohol. You can get hotels at a good price. If you hire a driver, you can get better price than using hotels people. Thank you for that tip. I think that's the way to approach it is probably the driver has to be set up in advance. I mean, you go there for the beaches, you go there for the people, you go there for the food. Definitely, the food. Who's going to win? This.
Me.
When you get here, I'll be more than happy to buy as many Bavarian cream donuts and coffee as you desire. By the
I'll
way,
drink more coffee
by the
and
way,
eat donuts.
I meant to bring this up, folks. You don't have to. It's coffee and donut with Dan, but Dan isn't there. I'm not demanding that you go and you spend this on Pendasol or coffee or Dunkin' or any other place. You spend it on whatever it is that meets your needs. Um, Once the money leaves my hand, I've said this many times, right? Once it leaves my fingers, I never think about it again. I never do. I don't think about what you do with it. I budget a certain amount every month for YouTube gifting, if you will. It's also part of my humanitarian fund. And I'll tell you what, Larry. I don't know if you would be in agreement with what I have to say. What's following this? It reminds me of something. There was a time when a couple of people came to me and they actually said these words. I was so shocked I couldn't believe it. They actually said, "You shouldn't be sending so and so money because they use it for nefarious things. Nothing will get you off my Christmas list quicker than approaching me and telling me where and where not to spend my money." I'm telling you the God's honest truth. For some reason, I don't know if it's the way that I live my life or the way that I was raised. Nothing will make me crazier than someone coming to me and saying that someone that you send money to is using it for evil and you should not be um, sending them money anymore. That's not my responsibility. If they've done me no wrong, and if they've done me no wrong, as a matter of fact, if they've done the works of good as opposed to evil, I probably wouldn't send you any money if you're evil. Then I don't care what you do with the money. I don't tell people what to do with it. In other words, I've had this conversation with a couple of people. And that is that once it leaves my hand, it's up to the universe and God and whoever you believe in. It's up to whatever deal you've made with them. That's how I feel about it. I have nothing to do with it. I don't even think about it after I send the money. No credit cards. I don't use ATM for cash. I send it to myself by Western Union or Remitly into my Salas Bank when I'm in the Philippines. Yes, so here's how we do it. My Ma'am Minnie has her bank account at the BPI, and all I do is I call my son up, who's also on the bank account in the States. So there's three of us on the bank account in the States. We have equal share in the bank account. And so all I do is make a phone call and say, can you send money to Minnie's bank account? And boom, the money is there. Usually it's there within 48 hours. So it doesn't take really much planning because we front load, Minnie has plenty of money in the bank account here in the Philippines to bridge us. So we don't usually have crises happening. I know you probably don't either, Mike. The military trains you. I'm not military, but I've been trained through government work that as long as you plan well, once you put all these steps into place, it's almost like being on automatic pilot. Larry, go. Filipina Raquel is in the house. Filipina
Yes.
Raquel, how are you? Meow.
When you're talking about the military training you, I was former Navy.
Right.
They trained me to live paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
As an enlisted man, I partied a lot.
Well, but didn't your commander, before you go, let me ask you a question, Larry, because I've heard this from my kids that served in the Navy. So I have twin boys. They both served in the Navy, and one of them was telling me, yeah, once they're in their, I think they're in their 40s now. I think they're turning 40 soon. Well, so they were telling me that before they hit or prior to hitting the port of call, right, before they're getting Liberty, right, they get the speech. The commander comes on the loudspeaker and gives them the standard speech about Don't spend your money, your paycheck, all in one place. And you know what that place is, right, Larry? And so it's so compelling of a speech. So some commanders are so good at it. My sons were telling me that there's a certain percentage of personnel that will never leave the ship. Is that
Now,
true?
I knew a guy that only went off on payday. He was married
Uh-huh.
and he didn't cheat on his wife, but he liked to country music and he liked to dance. So
Right.
whenever payday was, I'd go with him. We'd go to a bar, that country music, and he'd do some dancing, and then he'd go back to the ship. And so that's the only time he went off. So there were guys that would not go off or not go off very often. Most of them were married men, all right? But there were others, including married men, that was off every night, depending on where you were at, as long as they had the money. Like I said, I learned to live paycheck to paycheck because if I went broke, I had a place to sleep and I had food. So I didn't have to worry about, all right, I got to have this so I can do something tomorrow. If it was gone, it was gone. Now, I didn't always abide by that rule, but and I'm still a firm believer in, uh, I've been in debt a few times. I've had people ask me, well, why don't you just file bankruptcy? Because I was in debt quite a bit. I don't believe in bankruptcy. I
Good for
created
you.
the bill. I created the bill. I pay it, and now I have to suffer for a while. But I've always been that way. I mean, it's like that's my response. Nobody put a gun to my head and said, "Go out and spend that money." LJ, G, how you doing? And
LJ Rose is in the house. Thanks so much, LJ, for visiting us today. We really appreciate your time, the giving of your time. Time being the most valuable commodity that people have these days, I believe, unless you're retired like me. No, I'm busier than ever. I'm busier than ever. That's a fact. I don't know how or why it works that way. Filipino Raquel saying money is an instrument that makes people become evil due to their evil mind. Sometimes this happens, doesn't it, Filipino Raquel? We probably have both experienced this. But I try to not pay any attention. I've learned to train myself to just ignore certain things, And so, but if someone comes to me and they say, "Hey, don't send so and so money because they do evil things with it," I'm like, "Get out of here, get lost, get out of my life." I don't need you hanging around.
the only way I would want them to tell me that, uh, it would have to be something really illegal that might come back and hit me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I mean, if they're going out and getting drunk, or they're going out chasing women or chasing men, whatever, I don't care. I gave them the money. If they want to go out and
Yeah.
blow it drinking, that's
Look, Mike, this is my favorite line. You know what? And apparently, a lot of people. There's something weird that happens in retirement. I have no idea, right? But Mike, can I ask this question? I, it's the most silly thing, right? But how is it? Why is it that money accumulates so quickly once you're retired? If you have a government pension, why does this happen? Is it because you stop paying, like in the United States, Mike? I know you're in Canada, but in the United States. By the way, I love Tim Horton donuts. I finally did try them out. I don't know why I said that, Mike. Hey, listen, Mike. I think that Tim Hortons is owned by an American company now. Take
I
that.
believe they are.
Take
They
that,
were
Canada.
Canadian. They were Canadian. That's where they started. Timmy Horton
Hey.
was a hockey player.
Oh, okay. Hey, Mike, why is it that money accumulates so quickly? Is it because you don't pay, like we don't pay FICA taxes once we retire? We don't have to make, which is a big chunk of money. So when I retired, my take-home paycheck was exactly the same. It did not change.
Hello.
It did not change. I'm making the exact same money that I was making while I was working. And then once I added Social Security to it, then it went through the roof. And so I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. And I only worked for the government for 22 years. I didn't work 40 years for the government in order to earn, 100% of my retirement benefit. And plus, I worked for an agency that we paid into Social Security. A lot of people, they get one pension because they don't pay into Social Security. That's how it kind of works here in the States. Filipina Raquel is not feeling well. I hope that you get down to the doctor and get all that checked out, because you've been sick for a while. And I'm getting kind of worried about you. In Canada, no financial ideas, but you can get payday loan from the base bank. A payday loan where they're charging you 110% interest? Oh my gosh. Military knows only how to budget their ammo. They don't know that very well, because we understand. Yeah, they don't. So trust me, the crystals, they can't even do that correctly. Yeah. Remember, all right, when you reload, somebody has to have one bullet in the chamber when you reload. Somebody, one of your buddies. You can't all run out of ammo at the same time. But how many times have I seen this happen? A lot. All of a sudden, it just gets quiet on the battlefield. Everybody's staring at each other. Then they go, they have the OS moment,
Well, I'm going to tell you the truth now.
Chrissy
I'm
Mama
going to lie
to
to you. When I was in the Navy, I was trained with the handgun, the 45. I could take an empty 45 from its holster and a ammo clip from the other side of and have it loaded and shot completely empty in 11 seconds. If you practice it, it doesn't take long to reload.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Well, that's true. Mike, on this, I have an experience with this. So here in the U.S. of A., they have this thing. It's called
the USA.
Yeah, it's called offer and compromise. So I had a couple of businesses that went south, and I owed the IRS money. I owed them a lot of money, but I didn't owe them 180K. But it was enough to scare the bejesus out of me, because I couldn't believe, how could I? Well, I've had millions of dollars pass through these hands over my life.
Hundreds of dollars pass through these hands.
And unfortunately, couldn't figure out how to keep the money in my hands. But anyway, so I had to go down there, and they have this program called offer and compromise. Some people call it offer. No, it's offer and compromise. If you say compromise, the IRS will tell you, we don't compromise. We compromise. What the hell does that mean? So I go in there, and I have to be yelled at, screamed and yelled at by this old bureaucratic woman who was old enough to be my grandma, yelling at me like I was her kid. But I took it. And I just said to her, ma'am, I'm obviously no good in business. I shouldn't be in business. But how would I be able to discover this if I weren't in business? Let's reason this thing through, ma'am. Please, you're yelling at me. I'm accepting what you have to say. I'm agreeing with you. But how would I possibly know that I'm no good in business if I didn't have a couple of opportunities to discover I'm no good in business? So if you forgive part of this debt, whatever you decide, I will abide by, and I will go get a job, and I'll work 9 to 5 just like everybody else. And so she just looked at me. Yeah, she just was very, very quiet, and then she says, okay. And then she signed off 90% of the debt, 10%. She said, you're going to be responsible for this. You have to make it in monthly payments through wage garnishment. And then we're going to take each one of your taxes. If you have a surplus over the next 3 years, we get it. And I said, it's fair. And she signed off on it, and away I went. So sometimes, that was hard to take. That really was hard to take.
I worked with a guy that his
Hi, LB.
income check was garnished, and they took his tax returns. Now I don't know if his was because of bankruptcy, back child support. I have no clue why. But I worked with the guy, and his garnishment was just about through when I found out, because he was saying, "All right, one more check, and then my check's all mine." He said he had his wages garnished. I
Right.
didn't ask him why, and he just
That's
said he had
right.
one more check to have everything squared up.
Hey, Tim is saying that he actually met Tim Horton. I have a question for you, Tim. Tim, did Tim Horton give out free donut cards? You know those little cards that say compliments of Tim Horton? Someone told me he used to run around giving out those free cards, and then you just go into your local Tim Horton, and then you could use his card, and they'd go, damn, and then they'd honor the card by giving you a free donut. I'm just curious about that.
That would be
I mean,
cool to get one of
how did
those.
it go? Did he walk up to you and say, "Hi, I'm Tim Horton, the king of donuts"? I mean, how did that happen? Just curious.
Uh,
Thanks
well,
so much
well,
for your time, guys. I appreciate you. I appreciate you watching the silly videos sometimes that we come up with. And by the way, that apartment building video, Larry Nitban and a few others, they knew it was sort of tongue in cheeky for me. I don't know if you know what that means. In other words, you know, how do I do this? I've told Larry in the past that I can't stand making videos like that. I
I think we
can't
talked
stand
about
it.
that on your last video. I mean, live stream. It might not have been, but I believe it was your last live stream. And you were talking about how it was tongue in cheek, and I said you sounded like you were kind of mechanical.
Oh, so this is how Mike does it. He doesn't have to pay into all these things. We don't have health insurance payments, drugs are covered, and the money is tax free. Holy smokes, that's a beautiful thing. I still have to pay taxes. I had to write a couple of checks, Mike. I'm in the first year of retirement, and so you go through that transition period where the first few months were working months, and then I lost track of how much I should have contributed to federal tax. I ended up getting burned, and I had to write a fat check. So what are you going to do? You know
Mike said
what?
Tim Horton died before it got big,
Uh, that's a shame.
but Tim said that also that he believes that Tim Horton did do that at one time.
Yeah, he did. He. That's what I hear. I hear that's the rumor anyway. Some guy in the U.S. won 2 billion. Yeah, that guy is from Southern California, and he went out and he's bought a couple of mansions. He spent, I don't know, 25 million on the first one, and then the second one was his hang around house. You know that he paid a couple of $1 million for. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, he netted a little less than $1 billion off of the win because he took the lump sum payment option. In California, you could take the lump sum payment option. So he
You
went
can
up
do
there
that
where
in New York.
He went up there and bought a mansion up there in the hills where Manny Pacquiao has one. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but Manny Pacquiao lives in San Marino, you know, up in the hills. Anyway, I believe he's in that same neighborhood. I don't think, I think that, I don't know how I think that area where he bought that mansion, I'm, you know, they welcome new money up in there. You know, they welcome new millionaires, but there's some places
Oh
that,
yeah, they're snobby.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
got a lot
like
of money,
the Santa Monica Hills, Beverly Hills, you
I'm gonna
know.
be. I'm gonna tell you a lie here. Now, if I won that kind of money, I'd buy a nice home. I don't know if it'd be a mansion. It would be close to it, but I'd buy a really nice home here in New York State somewhere, so I could come. So I could come back during the
Risa's
spring
here.
and
I didn't know
summer.
Risa was here. Thanks for squaring me away, Larry. Thanks for being a good co-host.
I said hello, Reese. Risa.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm only listening to myself talk, you know?
But anyway, like I said, but then I would also buy a place or rent a place, one or the other, depending on what I was going for, in the Philippines. So I could spend the winters in the Philippines, come back here when the weather's nice, you know. maybe the
Oh, I see,
area.
Mike. I see how that works. That works kind of like Chapter 11 or Chapter 13 does in the States. So that means yeah, the court, you go and you go to bankruptcy court, you put together a plan, and then if the trustee agrees with the plan, the court approves it, and then boom, away you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I
the
said,
student loan payment. Hey, Mike, I don't know if you know this story or not, but so they did student loan forgiveness, and then they had student loan forgiveness for government workers. I barely, as it turns out, I barely slid underneath the wire of that law, and I was able to get government service student loan forgiveness, and so they paid all that debt off, and then they gave me a refund of the last couple of years of payments that I made. And I told people on the stream that it was just a total miracle that it happened a few days before retirement. I started noticing this money showing up in my bank account, and the money scared me because it said federal government, blah 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 blah. At first, I didn't know where the money was coming from, and then 2 weeks later comes the letter saying that your student loan forgiveness has been approved, and part of the law says that we refund the last 24 months of student loan payments that you made. Here they are. Have a nice life. And that was the end of it.
I did get reimbursed for mine. Now my first degree, I got out. I didn't know anything, but I had the GI Bill and the state grant and Pell Grant. You don't pay those back, so I can't complain there.
In Manila, there are Timmies. What's a Timmy? What's a Timmy? What did I miss?
Uh,
He died driving his Pantera. Oh, what a way to go. By the way, you know what that kind of reminds me of? I don't know if you guys remember in the States, they had the Winston Tire Company, right? And so it was a guy named Winston. Now, uh, he got in an accident, I think, I think he was headed across on US 10, I think it was, on Highway 10 from Salt Lake City. I don't remember the whole story, right? But I met him, and he was killed. His wife was driving, from what I understand, and they had an accident, and they were riding in one of his convertibles, and he was killed. But he was a friendly, folksy kind of guy, and I met him at a convention in, I think it was Las Vegas. I think it was Las Vegas. I met him at the big auto show, and he was walking. And Winston, I can't remember what his first name was, but he was walking right down. He was walking, headed for where he was giving a speech. It was his turn up, and behind him he had an entourage of something like 12 or 15 people, right? And he sees me laughing at him, right? Because I'm looking at him and I see all the guys behind him, and I'm pointing at the guys behind him, and I'm saying, well, there goes, it was Sam Winston, right? So there was Sam Winston, folksy kind of guy, very, very friendly guy. And he stopped in his tracks. He turned around and he looked at me and he says, son, he says, this is what you get when you make the big time. You get all these guys wanting to carry your briefcase. And he chuckled and he kept on walking. And the guys behind him that heard what he said to me, right? They turned red. And I said, you guys really should go and get a real job, instead of trying to follow this man around, hoping that some of the money that he drops will end up in your pockets.
Well, but the thing is, though, Dan, some of that money he drops ends up in their pockets.
Well, it does. They were Goodyear tire salespeople, Goodrich, and Fulda, and all those big tire people were trying to get orders from them. So they were following them around. Like, I'm sure this happens. If you go to an aerospace convention, you probably have the Boeing guys, following you around if you're the buyer for American Airlines or something like that. I'm sure it happens.
I'm sure. Well, you think about it, the Waltons, from Walmart.
Mike,
I'm sure people that want to sell stuff through Walmart, if they're around, they're following them up, trying to give them a sell pitch. Hey, sell our towels, sell our, our clothing line, our, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's some
Yeah.
people doing that too.
Hey, Mike, are you famous? Mike, are you famous? I'm starting to think that you are now. The Veterans Affairs paid for me to go to college plus paid for the course. I mean, you're infamous. I already know that.
Well,
But are you famous?
they do that here in the States. Like I said, I went to college that my VA paid for it. My cousin Paula, her husband, was in the Air Force, went to college while in the Air Force, so he got paid like he was still in the service. He went and he was a dentist. He went and took oral surgery school in Indianapolis for 2 years, was paid like he was still active duty. They paid for
Mm-hmm.
the college. He just had to do another 4 years afterwards. And then he
Yeah,
ended up,
Mike is making a point that I would like to add on to. He's saying that he gets the same thing in the Philippines. I have an entourage following me because I give out pencils to students. Yeah, I mean they're really appreciative when you do stuff like that there, and that's why I enjoy when I have an opportunity to do it. I enjoy doing stuff like that.
well,
You
I'll
know?
tell you, Bud Brown, he had people that would send him stuff and
Yeah, I
he'd give it
thought
to the
you were.
students.
I thought you were very famous. You just are. You all give us a hint who you are.
He's Mike married to a beautiful woman.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
And then Tito Tim and him and his wife, his family would send him books and stuff like that, and they'd pick a school to give it to the school. And sometimes it'd be
Um,
local, sometimes it'd be out
if I
out of the
could
way.
recall, if I recall, when Man Mini and I started packing up Balik Bayan boxes, she packed it full of school supplies. And when she got to the Philippines, that was one of the first boxes she opened up. She started handing out all the goodies, and as I recall, they were so appreciative. They were so appreciative, because
Oh
school
yeah,
was starting. They needed notebooks, pencils, paper. They
oh
needed
yeah.
all this stuff. Backpacks. She brought backpacks over. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be on TV. I stood behind the prime minister in the 1980s. So you stood behind the prime minister. Okay.
Yeah, but it was in the '80s, not the one we got in
Yeah, yeah.
'8.
There must have been an important reason why you mentioned that, Larry.
I'm sorry. The prime minister and our president both, I think, are a little too far to the left. I
Hmm.
don't mind to the left. Okay, I really don't. Like I said, right now, if I was voting, I'd vote for JFK Jr., who's to the left, but he's not way out to the left. I'm more of a centrist. I believe uh, we should be more centered. Whether you're on the right or the left, we should be towards the center. Because I believe
Well,
if you're in the
I
center,
think Mike
our
was
court,
signaling. Was Mike signaling
yeah.
to us that he was security detail?
No, Mike was probably I think Mike's a doctor, so he was probably uh, the prime minister's personal doctor or something.
Hmm.
That's what I think. I could be wrong,
Hmm.
but I thought Mike is a doctor. And he
Oh,
could have
okay.
he could have just been a student intern too at that time.
Oh, so if he coded out, Mike, you would be the guy, huh?
Yeah.
You'd be the guy if he coded out, huh?
He would be the guy for me if I remember correctly, guys.
Yeah.
I thought I remembered Mike saying he was a doctor.
Oh, okay. That's great. That's fantastic.
That was
So
in Chris's chat, if I remember right. But
let's see.
Mike's
Somebody
a
just
straight guy.
somebody just fired up. Someone fired up a live chat because we lost half of our audience. Oh, I think I saw that Filipina Raquel or somebody else was going to fire up this morning. Um, anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the Philippine economy. Mike was the target for an attack from the back. Yeah, yeah. We wouldn't want to be attacked from the rear. Yeah, that isn't good.
Well,
Mike, I send box of school supplies, and when I go at Christmas time, I dress up as a chicken. Oh, well, then you must have eaten at Joe's House of Manuk before then, my sponsor of today's show.
I'm going to tell you, Mike, if I'm over there and you go to deliver all that stuff, let me know in advance. I'll grow my full beard so I can go as Santa.
Hey, this article that I ran into, economic commentary, can be found at S&P Global Market Intelligence, and it is by Rajiv Biswas. And so if you want an interesting article, it talks about the Philippine economy growing at a pace of 7.6% in 2022, which was stellar. Everybody was all getting excited because they thought that that was going to go into 2023, but it didn't. It didn't. But it's still doing really good. I think we're running at about a 6% clip right now. Oh, security for, there you go. Security for Pierre Trudeau's Justin's dad. Ah, there you go. He was not a doctor, but perhaps Mike played one on TV, because I hear he is a very handsome fellow. So the economic growth was one of the strongest in Asia. The rapid pace of economic expansion was driven by the growth in household consumption. That is what I've been talking about. Folks, the Philippines is becoming USA-like, and I'm begging you, don't become that way. Why would you take your history, and have it be destroyed by the big detergent companies?
Well, I'll say this: take the good from the jobs, but keep the good that you have. In other words, take the money, save it up, and buy what you want, but do it as savings, not as debt.
Right.
Take it from somebody like me who's,
You have to pay yourself first. So that's why I was saying you drop the peso in the piggy bank. You drop the peso in the piggy bank. By the way, I went to Toys R Us, and I'm going to give you a hint here. You can take this 100 pesos that I'm giving you and go to Toys R Us and buy a piggy bank. It's a plastic piggy bank, color of your choice, for 100 pesos. It's 100 pesos out the door. That I like the pink one. I don't know why, but I like the pink one. But they have a purple one, a yellow one. It all depends on the Toys R Us that you go to, and then you can get a piggy bank. And all you need to remember is, when you get paid from the job that you're doing, from the manuk that you're selling, from the charcoal pork that you have prepared, that you're selling out street side, just take a couple of pesos and drop every day. You make money, you put it inside that piggy bank, and you pay yourself first before you pay your bills. This article looks a little dated, but it says the outlook for 2023 is for continued firm economic expansion. As Mike pointed out, it's still strong as hell, but it's running at about a 6% annual growth rate, as opposed to the stellar growth rate of 2022. Actually made my heart stop. I mean, I was like, or I was at least getting palpitations. I mean, when you're talking about the Philippines having one of the strongest growth rates in Southeast Asia, you ain't lying. You ain't kidding. But it's through consumption. It's through consumption of, no, not toilet paper. I know some of you were waiting for me to say toilet paper. Nobody is stockpiling toilet paper in the Philippines. But they are detergent, which I don't understand. I don't understand. Ma'am Minnie, what's the detergent that you use? What kind of, what do you use to, what's Tide?
Kala powder.
Oh, anyway, I have no idea. And then what's the thing that drives me crazy? Downy. Folks, you don't need to use so much downy in the clothes. You know, Mike, I wish I had crystals. I didn't know I highlighted that. You were funny. Maybe OB gynecologist fits you. Listen, it would suit me. It would suit me. I got to tell you that.
You get slapped.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Downy, folks, do not take your hard-earned money and go down to the 7-Eleven or the sorry store to
I'm sorry.
buy.
I just read Mike's. Uh, what do you call him?
Yeah.
He says, "I'm not late. I'm on Filipino time."
Yes. Yes, you are. Yeah, the Downy. Don't go down there and buy the Downy. Save the money on the Downy and quick dry your clothes if you can. Put them out in the hot sun. Don't let them get mildew, but it's not necessary to use so much Downy in the clothes. You just need to use just a tiny, tiny bit to freshen them up. I just wanted to point that out.
I'm going to be honest and lie to you here.
Yeah, be honest and lie to us. Lie to me, baby. Lie to me.
I would probably try to find someone to do the laundry for me. Although I'm hearing there's more and more coin laundry in places like Cebu, so that wouldn't be so bad. I could do that, but
yeah, I like the bar soap too, Mike. If I'm doing the laundry, I do the bar soap. But you, as you were pointing out, Larry, did you point out that it's just simpler to take it to the laundromat and have them do it? Because they have dryers there, and
they'll press it and fold it, and
they'll fold it. They'll do the whole thing, and so I'm a fan, but it drives Minnie crazy. You know, it drives her crazy.
Remember, Chris in Cebu, they used to do it, and he talked about how much it cost him a month. It wasn't a lot of money for the month.
It wasn't. No, it was very reasonable. You know, and so in Bye, when it was raining, it seemed like it would never stop raining. Then we would take it to the. I finally talked Minnie into saying, "Let me just take the laundry over to the laundromat and let them do it." And so, and then the sun started shining, and they started hanging clothes again. So there goes that. Yeah. The strong rebound from the global pandemic during 2022 helped to drive the pace of growth in the Philippines economy to the fastest rate since 1976. The Philippines GDP growth rate of 7.6% was comparable to some of the world's fastest growing large emerging markets. So I've been saying, and folks, if you pay attention to Dan, you know, listen to him, but don't do anything I say. This is purely for entertainment value and Dan's own opinion. You can become rich if you just pay attention to what they're doing in the United States and replicating it here in the Philippines. A need, a service that they don't, that has been in the United States and established, like a laundry service, as Larry had pointed out. Now you're starting to see Maytag washers and dryers show up everywhere, the commercial brands. I don't know if they're importing them from Singapore or Taiwan or where they're making them, but I can tell you this, they're showing up, and those coin-operated machines are showing up, and there's an entire new industry that has been born here because of it. That's what I'm talking about. And there's so many things that we still need here in the Philippines. And so that you can become wealthy on if you're paying attention. For example, electric is taking the country by storm right now. Electric bikes, they're selling more electric bikes here in the Philippines than they ever could imagine selling in the United States. And the reason is age of the population. You have 70 or 72 million post-war baby boomers. A lot of us have passed away already. That are retirees. We won't get on a bike, but we might get on an electric bike. But we don't have the population to support the sales of electric bikes or any other kind of bike in the United States. They try and sell it to us by showing old people on bikes taking a ride through bike lanes through beautiful parks. But and some of us are buying it, but
You know what
mostly,
they want for those electric bicycles?
yeah, they want $1,200. We had one.
That's minimum. That's the
Yeah,
cheapest.
we had one. I'm cheap, so I bought one for Man Mini. We had an electric bike.
Yeah, but they can cost you over $3,000 or more.
Yeah,
Depends on what you get and how long you. It's like if I want to spend $3,000, I might as well go get a small actual bike,
right,
motorcycle, or
right.
scooter. I would enjoy it a whole lot more than I would that bicycle. Uh,
The Philippines, it grew faster than the electric bike thing, Larry, was an example of industries that are growing so fast. I mean, here, what's the average age of a Filipino? 20 years old. I mean, they're one of the youngest populations on the planet, and they're being lured into growing their economy through consumer
that's the
spending.
wrong way to grow it.
That's the wrong way to grow it. Yeah. Of course, the overseas workers, the OFWs, are huge contributors to the economy because remittance represents something like a huge number of the gross domestic product. And so party on, Filipinos, go overseas, make money, get rich, send it home to your family so they can enjoy the good life. But the good life for people here that are behind, the ones that you're supporting if you're an OFW, is going to McDonald's, going to Jollibee, going to KFC. There's that side of it, but they're also spending it on education, housing, and improving their lives to make it look more like a Western lifestyle. But I mean, I wish it weren't going that way, that direction. Don't love the West so much. Things did not turn out so well in the West. Every empire has its collapse, and so you're seeing a slow decline that's occurring over time in the United States. It isn't going to collapse overnight. It isn't. The fall of the Roman Empire did not collapse overnight, but it's a slow but certain death. But they may not feel the full brunt of it, basically because they have an emerging what do you call it, echo boomer population that's coming up, and once they become, there are 80 or 90 million of them, and once they become consumers buying a population, consuming age population, which will happen within the next 10 years, then this whole thing will just be in the distant past. It'll just be history.
Dan, to let you know, ABCM channel came in, said hi to you.
Yeah, ABCM, thank you so much. Man, this gal works hard pushing out my channel. And she's got some subscribers. Holy smoke, she has subscribers.
Now,
it's scary. Scary. You know what? There's certain people when they push out a video, when they start promoting it, I can tell because the numbers, they just go pop, 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 pop. And so there's certain people, if they share it, I'll know by looking at the numbers, and I'll go and I'll check out who shared the channel. And ABCM definitely has impact, as well as Larice and many people here in the chat. I'm so lucky, that I should call my channel Lucky Larry's channel. Oh, no. Where did I get that?
No, I should call it mine Lucky Larry, but you got all the luck.
That's a very silly thing for Dan to say. All OFWs, according to Mike, need to be educated on saving. The embassies at the Philippines give free course and other courses for free. That is true. Saving the money should certainly be part of the equation. But hey, my life turned out okay, Mike. Mike, I hardly saved a dime. I just got lucky a few times. That's all. Sammy's in the house. Hey, Sammy. So I just got lucky a few times, And then, you know, you get lucky sometimes, right? And so, how shall I say this? Okay, it would have taken me somewhere
Brother Robert.
between $1 to $1.2 million in savings to get the kind of revenue stream that I have got going on now. So would it be fair to say that I'm living as though I'm a millionaire, right? Guapa. Hi, Sammy. Hello, Kuya Mike. Hello to all good Kuya. Yeah, there are a few bad ones in here, right, Sammy? Hello, Brother Robert. Thank you for coming to the live. I truly appreciate it. Appreciate your time, because time, as I've been saying, it's very valuable these days. I've been lucky lately. It's true. It is true. Positivity and love to all, words to live by. And so, the whole thing is, my whole point is that, and it happened to a lot of, I hate saying post-war baby boomers, but that's really what we are. It happened to a lot of us that we got lucky towards the tail end. We woke up one morning. I had said many times that I did not become a man until I was in my 40s. Up until that, I was playing silly rabbit games or playing with my little boy toys. But when I did wake up, it was just a huge awakening, where I got hit in the head with a mallet. And it said, Dan, if you don't get your act together now, you never will. The voice in my head said, the God voice, I call it, said, do the polar opposite of what you've been doing.
Hello, Fresh Aloha.
Go the other direction. Mike is saying they spend years away from their families or children and have nothing to show for it. Yeah, Mike, but I've thought a lot about this. Mike, I would like to make a comment about that. And my comment is this, is that in the United States, they work so hard, both couples, if they're in a coupled marriage, they're in a coupled relationship, they hardly ever have time to spend with their children. So there is a parallel. There's a comparison to be made. I don't know if my comparison is a decent argument or if it's a weak argument, but that's the comparison I could make. So you have 26 to 30% of the Philippine GDP comes from the remittance from OFWs. And those family, 1/3 are unable to spend time with their families because they're working abroad. But here we are in the United States, trying to keep the boat afloat, try to keep up with the Joneses. Larry knows what I'm talking about. We're loading ourselves up on debt, spending money, working 8 to 12 hours a day. In California, you can't even live there unless you have one full-time job and one part-time job. And then you have no time to raise your family, and so they end up in trouble on drugs because you don't have time to pay attention to them. They end up getting in trouble, committing crimes, going down to the local Walmart to buy an AR-15, stuff like that. It's not surprising that the suicide rate amongst teenage girls is skyrocket and going even higher as we speak, and even have the experience in my own circle, my own family circle, where the young lady took her own life with a weapon. And I got to tell you, I cried for days over that.
I'll tell you something now. If you're talking teenagers, I think part of it is that the shutdown where everybody had to stay home and the kids couldn't go to school and intermingle with their friends. And
Right.
then everything was being done online. And so I think they started using that as a lot more. And so I just think it was kind of grew out of all that.
Now, I had the good fortune to discuss some of these things with some of these concerns. I talk about it wherever I go and wherever I meet somebody. I know I talked briefly with Naomi on this subject. I also talked, hey, someone's in the chat. Surprise, surprise. Edward,
Hey,
Beck, the Mac Daddy is in the house.
Hey, gang.
What's up?
Not much, man. I was just out browsing to see if I could find your channel. I said, "Oh, look, they're on." And here's Larry too. Hi, Larry.
Hey, I'm in the chat. I'm in the panel a lot, not all the time, but most of the time. If you have
There
the
you
live
go.
stream, I'm usually here.
So
Well, go ahead.
let's see what I was going to finish my thought on that. Is that that's so I talk about it all the time. That creating this consumer environment in the Philippines, I worry about it because one of the allures, one of the things that was attractive to retire in the Philippines is that I didn't notice it so much. I didn't notice this need to want to for Western goods, and then of course now you see little kids when they're walking by the Jollibee in the mall, crying to their parents saying, "Please, mommy, daddy, can't we go into the Jollibee and get something to eat?" And they want that Happy Meal that, yeah. Thanks, Sammy. Thanks a lot. Yeah, they want this Happy Meal with a little toy in it that they have there at McDonald's and Jollibee. And that actually is what inspired my short video that I have online, the Jollibee.
Well, can I interlude with something? I always say you can conquer the world if you would give the poor people who are fighting in the world Sunday dinner, pizza on Friday night, and a few other American meals and American things during the
I'm
week.
with you. Well, I got to tell you, I'm all for giving people living wage, and that would take care of that. I mean, if you take all the social programs that we got, here's the big fear: people would lose work. I mean, it's easy to cut somebody a check. I mean, what they did during the pandemic, in my opinion, and don't listen to Dan, was an experiment. It was a social experiment. And you saw how the people reacted when all of a sudden money started appearing magically into their bank accounts.
Well, do you know what people did that they always claimed that they wouldn't do? The politicians always said, "Oh, if we give people money, they're just going to go out and blow it and waste it."
They didn't blow it. They saved it.
Well, not only that, but people who really needed it paid their rent, paid their utility bills. The American people stood up and did what they should have done with it. I watched my neighbors, because I live in a crazy neighborhood.
Oh, you mean they paid their bills with it?
Yeah, well, they took care of business with it, is what
You're
I'm
exactly
saying.
right. You're 100% right. Very, very few people have made this point when I've talked about it before. It backfired. They wanted them to go spend it on junk.
Well, some people did.
Well, you know what I spent mine on?
What'd you spend yours on?
I watched all my neighbors buy game stations, Xboxes, PlayStation, TVs, furniture, junk.
Right.
I bought land.
Oh yeah. Of course. There's a difference. You're bringing up a good point. There's a difference in between blowing the money, and servicing bad debt as opposed to servicing good debt. So that's what I've done. That's what I did basically with my money. In other words, we poured the money into building the house in the Philippines.
I bought an acre and a half of land, just like it's not quite an acre and a half. It is 1.475 acres.
That's a lot of land.
I bought it for $4,500. I found an old man who couldn't sell his family's property, and it was just sitting there. He's 83 years old. He knows he's not going to go forever, and the people were trying to steal it from him for like $1,500. I went out with my son, sat down at a Dairy Queen with him after looking at the property, and I said, "Look, I don't have all that money to give you. I wish I did. I would buy it from you in a heartbeat. But if we can come to some kind of gentleman's agreement, I will buy the land from you and I will pay you, like $500 a month till it's paid off." I'll have it paid off in less than a year. We'll both be happy. So I started making payments to him. I said, I'll send you the payment the first of the month. So as I was getting this stimulus for my son and for the home, I knew I had a little extra money. I kept on putting it. When my income tax came the following year, I sent him 2 checks, the final 2 checks, called him up, said I'm ready. He said, oh man, I'm on vacation in Florida.
That's a requirement, right? If you live in your neck of the woods, it's a requirement. It's the law that you have to retire to Florida. Ain't that right?
Well, he was snowbirding. You know, they go south for the winter. And I said to him, well, you know, Woody, we did this whole deal as a gentleman's deal. I said, I need something from you in case you get hit by a bus.
That's right.
Saying that I paid you for the property, you know, because I got it from him like once or two in the middle of it that I was, you know, so far paid along. I said, I need something that says that I'm totally paid for the property and that your estate owes me my land. If you'll do that, we can settle when you come back. I waited till July to settle. And I went to his lawyer's office and we just used his lawyer. His lawyer wasn't happy with that because lawyers just like to have other lawyers, you know. But it was a clean, simple deal. And we just sat in his office. We signed the papers and bam. For less than $5,000, I bought this property. And that's how I'm going to finance my trip to the Philippines to bring my fiance and her 2 children to America to live with me till we want to go back to the Philippines.
Hey, that's a great idea. You know what? So sometimes when you're evaluating, when you're filling out that financial form for the fiance visa,
Right.
Some of the assets that you own, it's subjective. You know what I mean? It's a subjective number.
And I can keep that way. Here's the
You know
other
what
thing.
I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Here's the other thing. That piece of property that I paid $4,500 for last year is, I will say, worth $15,000 to $20,000. It has a pole line of electricity running through it from the electric company. It's got the local sewer system, 3-foot trunk line pipe running through it. So I got sewer, electric, city water in the street, and it has a well and a spring on it. It's
beautiful.
It's build ready.
It's ready to go.
It's a hillside.
Hey, Joe is here, and Mike is going to be in Bye Bye City Late Day in a day or so. And Mike, just want to let you know, Mamini and I were headed back to Bye Bye from Cebu Wednesday morning. So today is Labor Day, and I was telling Mamini I don't want to get out there during Labor Day because we still have to settle our rent bill and all that other stuff here. And then I thought, well, maybe we could go Tuesday, but I still haven't packed yet. So we're going to take off Wednesday morning. And then from that day forward, or from Thursday morning forward, we'll be all hanging out at our usual spot, the U.S. Embassy East at the Dunkin' Donuts in Bye Bye City Late Day. So, Mac Daddy, I like the way you're thinking about that land thing. That sounds like something
I'm coming to the Philippines. Yeah. And I still might keep it and put a house on it. I'm not sure yet. I don't have to sell it. The taxes on it, because there's nothing built on it, are $150 a year.
Hey, you could be one of them tiny home builders and you could start a YouTube channel.
Well, I don't want to build anything quite that small. I want to be just a little bigger.
You know what I thought about? I thought about buying a piece of land and then building a shack like the Beverly Hillbillies came from. And then I could have a whole channel that would be oriented towards outdoor living, you know, where I replicated the shack from the Beverly Hillbillies, something like that.
Well, I grew up in a small home. The total dimensions on the 2-bedroom home I grew up in was 28 by 32, but it had a 15 by 17 living room, a 12 by 12 kitchen, a 9 by 12 bedroom and a 12 by 14 bedroom and a tiny bathroom. I was comfortable in that home my whole life. I only wanted to go a little bit bigger with the house I was going to build. 84 Lumber here sells home kits. For $24,000, I could get a home kit and nail it together and have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home. So,
Hey, I just noticed that because I have that banner, my sponsor's banner running across the bottom, that it's cutting off Mac Daddy. So
That's
how do
okay.
I edit the Eat at Joe's House of Manute? How do I edit
Well,
that?
you don't have to take that out. Just take out showing the comments. You can take out the
What do I
comments.
do?
Hide the comments.
Do I
You
just
go
click
in,
on the? Do I just click on the?
You see where it's highlighted? The comment.
Uh huh.
You can go there and it'll come up and it'll say hide. Just hit hide.
Their peers and their hierarchies. Means that
I don't know.
Dan, I'm fine with it there. I don't mind.
I think she's done
I'm just glad to talk to you guys. But I'm
Let's
trying
see.
to come to the Philippines. I was thinking too, with what you're paying for apartment rent over in Bye Bye, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it's really nice over there. A lot of the people I know are on Bohol Island in Onda, and
Right.
I was discussing with Leonard today. We got to talk about more travel to the Philippines, and some of the stuff is like my fiance's in Onda, and there's a lot of nice dive resorts there that are like hotel resorts, and they dive and fish out of them. They're on the beach, and I thought that might be nice.
Oh, there. That's what you were saying, Larry. You were saying take out the
Yeah.
comment.
No, take out the
All right.
comment.
And you
All right. I
can
played with it.
stay
No,
for
no.
like,
I think you got a great. I think you got a great thing going there.
you can stay for 3 weeks at the Pearl Resort in Onda. They have a restaurant, a bar, a pool. They're on the beach. They're a dive resort, so you can dive or fish if you want to, or just go there and walk around on the beach. And you can stay for like they were telling me I could come there and stay for $175 for 3 weeks. I thought that was a great deal.
Oh, that is a great deal.
It's normally
That is
like
a great deal.
it's normally like $30 a night, they were saying, but
So,
and-
Fresh
Onda's a
Aloha
nice
was making
area.
a comment. I agree, Dan. The great Roman Empire fell from within. No other country could defeat them, but they fell from within, from decay. They decayed from within with it immoral behaviors, and unfortunately, USA is headed in the same direction. It certainly does feel that way to me. It certainly feels like
One of
we're
the-
headed that way.
One of the things that took the Roman Empire down that they don't talk about was the seals that they used on their wine were lead. And they had a lot of lead in their wine that they drank.
Oh, they got poisoned.
Yes.
That's true. I remember reading that. They got poisoned because there was lead in the wine.
Yep.
Tim is saying that unfortunately many people in the Philippines do not have bank accounts. That's true. That's true. That's why you go down to Toys R Us, you get yourself a piggy bank, or
Well,
you get a coconut shell, and you can make a bank out of that. In other
Well, you
words,
know- You're missing something there, Dan.
yeah. What am I missing?
Well, we talk about opportunity and what we could do for the Philippines all the time.
Right.
We should come out with a program sponsored through their banking system where we go into the schools and teach children how to bank. And we get families bank accounts and we bring them into the future with getting these poor people established with some kind of bank card and banking system.
Oh, thank you, Scorpion Blue. Thank you. Hello, bro. Ramses here. Raid from Melanie. Melanie's here.
I haven't seen Melanie come in, but I've been seeing people say
Oh,
hi.
so Melanie is doing a live right now. All right, no, that makes sense. Okay, so I have an idea for you, Mac Daddy, I want to share with you. I've been thinking about this a lot. I don't know if it would work or not. But so I have this idea of putting seed money together to start a micro loan program for business in the Philippines.
Yes,
And
it's
so-
a great idea.
Do you think it is?
Yes, I do. Because that's one of the things I tell my fiance all the time. She's always buying food in the market and she's limited money for food all the time. But she buys these pumpkins that they eat over there, the squash. Well, every one that she buys is loaded with heirloom seed.
Right, exactly.
And I say to her, why are you buying these pumpkins all the time and you're not planting them?
Right.
And you can grow them on a plastic milk bottle or 2-liter soda bottle where you can feed them. Now think about it. These people eat dried fish every day. You teach them how to make fish emulsion. And with a little bit of compost in that bottle and fish emulsion water in the bottom of it with a little bit of Epsom salt, they could feed these pumpkins and grow the vines.
Oh, it sounds like hydroponics.
It's a cross. It's almost hydroponics. But
Mhm.
because a lot of times the soil is very needing or very lacking. But also that you could just about grow the thing on a sidewalk in a container like that.
Man, that is a great idea, but same thing, so what I think what stumps me about my idea of doing microloan is what type of business could qualify for the loan, and then
Food production.
food production. Yeah, absolutely makes sense.
You can go online. There's a guy in Singapore that is doing exactly what I'm saying. He took a pallet, a wood pallet,
Mhm.
and it wouldn't have to be a wood pallet, but that's what he used. And he put, say, 4 or 5 rows of, say, 6 long. He put like 20 to 30 soda bottles on this pallet. And he grows a cabbage on each soda bottle. And these cabbages are like half the size of a basketball.
Wow.
So your micro loan idea could be great if you could get these people growing the long beans, which sell very well. They're used
Yeah,
for
I don't know
stir fry.
if you've seen my video, but we're growing right now. This is one of the things that I compelled Minnie's family. I kept saying, man, we should be growing food right now.
Yeah,
And so we have 2 lots that we're growing food on now, and we're growing the long beans. Have they planted squash, Minnie, over there? Have they planted squash in the garden? Not yet, because it's not time.
tomatoes
What are they
don't.
growing over there?
And Dan Sheet, Melanie is having a live stream.
Yeah,
Checked.
she's doing a raid. She's Melanie. Thank you so much, Mel. Thank you. Ramzest is here. Scorpion Blue is here. I got About Time is here.
Hello, Mildred.
Smash. Wow, the whole gang is here. Never Stop Believing. Never stop. How's that song go?
Don't Stop Believing by Journey.
Don't Stop Believing. Never Stop Believing. Happy Lang. Thank you so much, Mel. Really
Here's a
appreciate
thought for you. When you're growing food in the Philippines, tomatoes are very popular, but they're not the crop to grow because it's often too hot for them. Tomatoes don't like temperatures over 91 degrees.
Yeah, I think we did plant some though.
Well,
So-
you'll get tomatoes, but they'll be green rocks. They won't ripen well. If you wonder why they're
okay.
getting, if you wonder why they're going to get tobacco virus and not grow well, it's too hot.
Pinoy Ako is here. Happy Lang.
You should grow onions on your property.
Are they growing onions? Starlight, Star Bright. Hey, man, Minnie, are they growing onions? Are they growing ginger? They are. She says they are.
Another good thing that they could produce is chickens.
Oh, for the manure,
For the manure and the eggs and the
the egg.
meat. You kill the
Yeah,
roosters
we
off
don't
for
have.
meat.
Do we have a place to put a chicken coop?
You don't need a big one.
Chicken cubes.
Yeah, a chicken. Raising chickens. We would have to borrow the neighbor's land to raise chickens, right?
Yeah, if you are.
Yeah, that's the problem. Right now we're borrowing the neighbor's land
Oh, I
to
didn't
grow.
know.
Yeah, to grow on, because our lot is only 200 square meters.
I got
Ramses
you.
says that song "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey is one of his favorite songs.
Oh yeah, that's jury. Yeah,
Well, you got it right though. Micro
Rise up.
loans and
Hello,
yeah,
Sailor Moon, how you doing?
they will grow.
What do you think?
Another thing. Well,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you is that how would the mechanics of it work? How would the mechanics work?
You got to make them small loans to produce produce, and when their crop comes in, they got to pay you back at a percentage and a low interest rate.
Or pass it forward, right?
Well, you want to get your investment back so you can give other people seed money.
Right.
So they can pay part of it forward, but to be a banking system for them, you want to get your money back. Even if you're lending them, say you did $100. Well, that's like 5,400 pesos with the exchange rate, and you make them $1,000 peso loans for seed.
Hey, folks in the chat, are you listening to this? What would you do if you had 5,000 pesos right now in your pocket with the idea that you would have to plant food with the money, and then once the crop started coming in, you would have to grow the food and then sell the food and then return the initial investment back to the fund? Would you be willing to do that? Would you be willing to do the work and grow the food? That's the question. Because a lot of people have told me that Filipinos won't do it. And I don't agree. I don't necessarily agree with that assessment.
Well, so I think it's like everything else. Some will, some won't, and
Mhm.
you'll have some success or limited success.
And then what happens if the money's lost on the initial offering?
Well, then they get a bad credit rating with you, or if you got to evaluate every case by case. If they're not willing to pay you back, that's a bad thing. But the other thing that they could do is pay you back, or if they have a crop failure, you understand that and give them some kind of loan forgiveness. Another thing that the Filipinos need to do more of and can do is buy like bundles on Shopee,
Right?
and resell them, like flip-flops and things like that.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. That really is.
Clothes. Because oftentimes they don't
Yeah,
have
so-
enough money to buy a bundle of children's clothes, but they can buy
But I
their
like
kid
the
an
food
outfit.
idea. I like your food idea, growing food, way more than I like buying stuff that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I keep thinking to myself, man, oh man, how many plastic spatulas does a person need?
I agree with you, but it's all a little bit of everything together.
I gotcha.
The
You know-
shopping would work for somebody maybe living in an apartment or condo.
Yeah. Exactly.
Where they don't have the room to grow stuff.
Oh, okay. So it invites other people to participate that otherwise wouldn't because they don't have a place to grow food.
Grow crop or raise animals.
Right,
But
I
you-
gotcha.
Dan, what you want to look into is high production hydroponics. And they can be real simple, like I was telling you. A handful of composted soil, a little bit of chicken manure, pig dung, compost it with rice hulls and things. They got to make compost, and then they can grow in these little 2-liter container gardens. You got to look them up on YouTube. They're going nuts with this stuff. And they're producing food in ways that you never thought possible.
Oh, I've seen it. I've studied a little bit of hydroponics. I like it.
Well, the Filipinos got to be introduced to it because they
Mhm.
think we're putting everything in the ground, but their soil is often not good enough. So
Right.
they need the micro
Well,
garden.
you know what's remarkable is we're located in an area that's alluvial plain, just like where I came from, Sacramento, where you have the convergence of two freshwater rivers, and it dumps out right in front of our house. So you have alluvial plain, and the sky's the limit on what you can grow. I mean, it's just nutrient rich soil. And
It's
remember,
really-
we're in an area we're in an area that's volcanic ash.
Yes, and
But
that's
just
very
also
good.
remember that hydroponic. You
Yeah,
can build shelving inside of an apartment
right.
and get the right kind of lighting because you're going to need light for the plants.
Well,
You can do it
here's
that way.
here's something else. Now that you told me you're on alluvial plain, drip irrigation, micro drip irrigation. It's little, say, 1/4-inch lines that feed your plants. And you can feed your plants your fertilizer hydroponically and everything else.
Right.
The best thing you can do is provide your plants all they can drink. And oftentimes the Filipinos do not think of drip irrigation and things like that.
Oh, that's right. They don't. Thank you for
Hydro.
reminding me. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I think what I'll do is I'll show them how drip irrigation works.
And then they have drip tape even. They got this little like plastic bag that looks like a piece of masking tape almost, but it's plastic. And you can flow water through it, and everywhere you want it to drip out, you just pop a hole in it. It's irrigation tape. I
Big
keep
shout out
thinking
to Filipina Raquel.
I keep thinking that I should come to the Philippines with these farming techniques.
No, you need to. We need you.
Another
we need
thing,
you here.
and I don't want to tell you
make a
I
stop.
thought of
Go
all
make a
this.
stop. Make a stop at the Green Acres and bring the stuff we need.
Well, here's the thing.
Green Acres is the place to be.
Where I get this,
There's a
Dan,
life for me.
I didn't invent this. As I always say, I don't want to invent the wheel. I just want to roll with it. I go to the world's largest farm show when I can every couple years. Here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, every January, they have the farm show, and they have all this stuff. Here's one for you that you won't even think about on your alluvial plain. You could probably do a small pond with tilapia.
We have one. Well, we have one. The reason why is because it's reclaimed rice fields.
Yes, the tilapia and catfish. That
Yeah,
you can grow
they're in there.
that
In fact,
field.
when we were digging, we kept digging it. We kept digging. All of a sudden, a fish would appear. When we were digging, we were setting up our septic system and everything, right? All of a sudden, a fish would appear out of nowhere.
Right. Well, those fish are edible. They're also creating nitrate and nitrate, which is plant fertilizer. Another thing that they do in these, I've seen in these ponds that they were doing at the farm show, they were growing catfish and tilapia in the pond and floating styrofoam on top, and they were growing lettuces.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
Leaf lettuce, watercress, things that are edible. Spirulina algae is highly nutritious and things like that, and it's very edible. The Philippines needs a lot of food. There's people starving.
Right, exactly. Exactly. But you know what? I got to tell you, you probably know this, the industrial farmers, they're starting to rear their ugly heads in the Philippines. I don't know if you know this or not.
Well, they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. But I want to teach the common little man how to feed and support his family on the things he can grow. And he can work his job or do whatever. But like the Irish, they always had the potatoes. And that's when Ireland really took off. When the farmer could go to work and the crop could be in the ground. So there's other things that you guys could grow. Yams are from Africa. They need to grow more red beets in the Philippines. Red beets are from Africa, and they tolerate salt water very well.
Oh, Larry, thank you so much for keeping up with the chat. I really appreciate it.
And they're highly nutritious. But I didn't want to direct your whole program tonight. I apologize.
No, listen, those are ideas that's why I threw it out there. So I'm getting inspired, because I think that I could start a micro loan program. I could throw out there, maybe I could fund it with the first 10,000 pesos, something like that.
I got one for you, Dan.
Yeah.
You need to teach them how to take all that sand that they're sitting on, mix some concrete or perlite and concrete with it, and make, or even aircrete. And they need to learn to make a tandoori oven. And
listen, I'll be learning myself. I'm going to try and build one. I'm going to try and build a tandoori oven myself.
I'm going to tell you how to build one. You take an exercise ball and you cast your concrete around it. And
they don't know what that is here in the Philippines. If you say an exercise ball, they're just going to look at you and give you the quizzical Filipino look.
I got you. Well,
I was looking around for one. Hey, I got to tell you how far I've already gotten. Based on suggestions you've already made. I went looking around for an exercise ball, and I went looking around for a paint sprayer with a compressor. Couldn't find either one of them.
Well, here's my thing. You could look up aircrete too. You could make it out of aircrete because you can.
What about styrofoam? Can I use styrofoam as the mold and then make a square one?
Well, let's go this way.
Why does it have to have the round shape? That's my question, I guess.
Well, you don't have to have the round shape, but aircrete, Dan. You got to look up aircrete because you stretch your concrete and sand a lot further.
I think they import aircrete from India.
Well, no, you make aircrete.
How do you make it?
Okay. You take an air compressor, which they have, and with PVC pipe, you make a foam generator. And with Dawn dishwashing liquid, you make the foam. It's like shaving cream. You mix the shaving cream with the sand and the concrete, and it's got air locked in with it, and it's super insulated. So when you put the heat in the oven, the heat will stay in the oven. You'll be able to put your hand on the outside without getting burnt. That's how good it is.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, there are probably YouTube videos that'll show me step by step on how to do it.
Yes.
All right. So now we're hitting the 2-hour mark. I really appreciate you guys being here today, and the raid, and everybody in here. I think that the raid, I think it inspired me that this 100 peso note should go to Melanie via GCash. So Melanie, even though you're not physically here in the chat, or we didn't see you, I think you are today's winner of the 100 peso coffee and donuts with Dan challenge, and I'm going to make sure you get that. We're talking about.
Should I tell her?
Yeah, are we talking about Melanie Calapayan?
Yeah, I got a live stream up right here.
All right, let her know.
Can I interrupt you with one more thing before we go?
Say that again.
Can I interrupt you with one more thing before we go?
Sure, absolutely.
If you're making an oven out of aircrete, and the reason why I went to making an oven is because a big thing in the Philippines, and it's hard to get because nobody has ovens either, is they could bake bread, and bread sells very well in the Philippines.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely.
You talk about a micro loan. These people can mix bread in basically their dough in a bucket or a clean vessel like a trash can. And then they can take their dough that they mix and bake it in the tandoori oven and sell it, and they can create their own money.
Beautiful ideas. Absolutely spectacular. We have to talk more about it. We have to do a whole show, a whole live stream just talking about this subject. And so I'm going to be working on an outline, and I'll see if I could put one together in a week or so where we can dedicate the entire show to this topic.
Can I give you my email address?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Real easy. You might want to write it down.
I got my pen. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm ready to go.
The Polish beer guy at gmail.com.
Oh, that is easy to remember.
I used to sell beer. I came up with it.
with the look and feel of the solution.
But you can get me
Polish
there.
beer guy at gmail.com. That's Edward
Right.
D. Beck, the Mac Daddy.
Or you can find me at Edward D. Beck on Facebook. I don't have a picture up. I got a pan pizza.
Oh, you do?
Yes, and if you want to talk about this stuff and talk about how to do it, I'd love to help you set up
Hey,
an
that'd
outline
be fantastic. Let's do it, man.
where we can.
All right, today's winner, before we call it a live stream, that's Melanie Calapayan. I'm going to send you that in your Gmail. It's on its way. Folks, time is valuable. I appreciate you so much for giving of your time. And I will never, ever, what does Sunshine Shoulders say? He says, I will never take your time for granted. But remember, stay tuned, because this is what Dan's lives are about. And keep an eye on new videos. They'll be as interesting as the Cebu taxi cab video was. Let me see if I can get Ma'am Minnie over here before we sign off to say hello and goodbye to everybody. Ma'am Minnie, she's so busy.
Call me.
She's so busy over there.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Oh, there's Ma'am Minnie making her cameo appearance. Yeah, well, it works pretty
I'm
good.
happy to see you guys too every time live stream or dance.
There you go. So, Ma'am Minnie, when we walked by that taxi cab, she hopped right in it. So,
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
I really like that short. That was a good one. I really like
that was an excellent one. So for now, Larry, why don't you lead us out of this live with your famous words of wisdom?
All right, everyone. Remember, be kind to each other. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe and healthy. Plus, as always, try to have fun.
All right, you got it. Thanks for being here, Edward D. Beck, Mike, and everybody else on the stream today.
Bye, everyone.
Tim, thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye, Larry.
Take care, Dan. Look me